Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Garrett Smith, the Nutrition Detective, and this is the Nutrition Detective Podcast. We are going to be going over stuff today all about the disaster that has been vitamin D supplements for everyone. So most of you know I'm like the vitamin A toxicity guy. I mean, of course, with Grant Generu. And vitamin A is bad. Vitamin D supplements, the great thing about vitamin D by mouth is what I'm talking about. Vitamin D by mouth is super easy to avoid. You don't want to get vitamin D toxic? Don't put it in pills in your mouth. Don't put it in cod liver oil in your mouth. Hey, with cod liver oil, you get to avoid vitamin A and vitamin D by avoiding it, okay? So people are going, but my doctor says I should take vitamin D because my vitamin D is low. We're going to basically, first of all of a sudden, doctors got a nutritional trick, right? You beg them for a B12 test, you beg them for a vitamin A test, you beg them for a magnesium test, but all of a sudden, doctors are like, vitamin D, you need vitamin D, and you need to take it, and you need to take a lot of it, and we need to raise your levels to above 50, folks, is like a level that okay, I'm going to be talking in American units, because as always, I'm American, and I'm going to be talking in American units, because that's what I deal with. So I'm not going to say, I can't work in this world of like demanded inclusivity. I don't have time or the effort to put in every single unit for every single thing, because then nothing happens. I'm going to go in American units. If you're using European units like nanomoles and micrograms and stuff like that for the vitamin D things, you're just going to have to convert it. For vitamin D conversion, or for any conversion of units, a great website to use is unitslab.com. Unitslab.com. So if you're on Google, type in Unitslab vitamin D, and it'll take you there. And you can type in nanomoles per, I don't even remember what it was. Let me see. It was, that's the European unit, nanomoles per liter. And the American units are typically nanograms per milliliter for vitamin D, the cholecalciferol measurement, the D3. And then Europeans use micrograms for vitamin D doses. And we here in America use, I use international units. So it takes 10, what was the conversion? 10 micrograms is 400 IUs. And Unitslab has the conversion from nanomoles per liter into nanograms per milliliter. I'm going to mainly be talking in nanograms per milliliter. But anyway, back to the subject. Vitamin D supplements. Vitamin D supplements, how did I get started on this whole mess? I've been through, so when you hear me talk about supplements that I don't use, that I tell people not to use, I've been through it. I've used it with people. I watched it not work like everybody sold me on. And I watched some people get worse on it. And I was going, what's going on? Why am I going to these conferences and these jokers are teaching me this stuff? And I come back to my practice and I use it exactly like they said to use it. And it doesn't work. This happened with the whole iodine, all those iodine crazy people out there poisoning people with iodine. My goodness, it happened with vitamin D. And then we got to vitamin A. So you guys have heard me talk about vitamin A a lot. If you're new to the podcast, just go and find my other work, other places. There's the Nutrition Restored YouTube page. I'd really appreciate if you go and subscribe there, because I want to get to 1,000 subscribers and I'm close to halfway there. But that's an important benchmark to reach on that website. And I do put these up there so you can see them later. So if you or your friend missed this, it's going to be on YouTube later. I know it's hard to find in a Facebook feed. So anyway, there's the Nutrition Restored YouTube page where you can find this later. Vitamin D. I was into it early. I was doing, okay, you want to know how into vitamin D I was? I think it was 2006. In my practice, I was testing vitamin D on everybody. I got so into it, I was getting the finger prick thing so I could do an in-office blood sample so people didn't have to go to the lab. Like, I was into it. I was taking it. I was measuring myself. Started reading these crazy numbers of where to get it up to, and then I started reading that, like, Australian lifeguards who were out in the sun all the time weren't as high as some of these doctors were saying. So you need to understand, you need to go and look. You need to never confuse the European units with the American units, okay? So if you're reading a study and they're like, well, you need to get to a 50, or you need to get to 100, or you need to get to whatever, you need to say, is that nanograms per milliliter, or is that nanomoles per liter? Because a 20 in American units, nanograms per milliliter, is a 50 in European units. So a lot of people, when they love to quote the Masai levels of vitamin D, they're talking about European units, which are nothing like, I mean, 2.5 times less is what the American levels are, okay? So you can't confuse the two, okay? That's really, really, really important, because when you're hearing stuff, when people are spouting off about what your level of vitamin D should be, first of all, they're almost always overshooting it. The studies that I go by tend to find that the lowest mortality, the lowest risk of death from any cause, when they look at vitamin D levels and all-cause mortality, risk of death from any cause, the lowest risk of mortality is with a vitamin D level in American units between 20 and 40 nanograms per milliliter. 20 to 40. It's not this nonsense over 100 that Mercola is throwing out there. 20 to 40. You guys might be watching this and going, gosh, my level was right in there. My doctor's telling me I'm horribly low and I got to take all this vitamin D. I got to get up above a 50 or 70 or an 80 or 100. And I'd say, tell me any person you know who has ever gotten their levels up above that in the American units. And then tell me how healthy they were. I get lots of people coming in where their doctors have been poisoning them with vitamin D supplements and their levels are 50s and 60s and 70s. And I say, how have you felt since you got your levels up there? And they'll be like, I feel like garbage. My joints hurt. I've had to up my thyroid medication. I've had to do all these things. Like, I'm so tired. And I say, it's the vitamin D. You are calcifying as you stand there. So what happened with me was I was doing all the vitamin testing. I was taking my vitamin D. And I decided, because I tend to overdo things a little. I thought, well, Thorne makes these 25,000 unit vitamin D pills. And vitamin D is fat soluble. So I should be able to, I'll just take them one day a week. I'll do my 50,000 units, 50,000 units, one day a week. So then I don't have to worry about the rest of the week, right? Save some time, save some energy. It's fat soluble. It should stick, right? So that's about 7,000 units a day, because I figured, 2,000 is okay. 5,000 is like pretty darn good. Now this is sarcasm. 2,000, this is sarcasm from now. Back then I was like, 2,000 is okay. 5,000 is better. I think even back then I was like, 10,000 a day is a bit much. So 50,000 a week sounds like 7,000-ish a day. So that's pretty good. When I started doubting vitamin D, I would take those 2 pills and I would not, I'm going to give you some TMI here, I would not poop for 2 days. To go from multiple times a day to nothing for 2 days, it didn't take me long to figure out and go, wait, this happens after I take the vitamin D. What's up with that? And then back when for those of you who have been with me from the Matt Stone and the RBTI days of Carrie Reams and that stuff, that stuff is lunacy, straight up lunacy You will calcify yourself so quick. You may feel good when you do that plan perfect, but as soon as you come off of it, you are much, 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 much worse than you ever were before. Anything that makes you weaker after you're done with it is making you worse. If you have to do something perfect, or else you don't get the benefits, you're on a trail to disaster. I want my people to be more resilient to doing all sorts of things. That's the goal. That's what we see. We see people's food allergies shrinking. If you saw my post just the other day about the post about vitamin A increasing food intolerances, increasing the reaction, the inflammatory reaction to gluten, vitamin A increases your reactions to these things. We take vitamin A out and we see people able to eat things that they didn't used to be able to eat. What's up with that? Maybe we're taking out the inflammation in their system and we're fixing the problem, and then they're able to eat these things again. Now, that doesn't mean we just go eat a ton of vitamin A stuff. Don't get me wrong. You still got to dance with who you brought. You want to stay healthy. You still got to avoid it. But vitamin D is what we're on today, and that's what we're going to try to stick with. So anyway, I started figuring out that vitamin D didn't agree with me. And then the Kerry Ream stuff I read, he has a book of all these little quips of his. And one of them was too much vitamin. I remember hearing him say something about vitamin D. So I look in there and I find one of his quips is like, too much vitamin D can cause constipation. And I was like, what? Nobody told me about this. Constipation is related to thyroid often, right? We'll get to that later. So I thought maybe I shouldn't be taking all this vitamin D. So I think I pretty much stopped the high dose pills after that. I probably threw them away. Then, sometime after that, if she's still around, Pippa, she knows who she is. She was a Facebook friend of mine. She mentioned getting her hair analysis classes. I would mention where it was, but I'm so far beyond those teachings that I really don't like people doing them and then coming to me and going, but I learned all this from the guy you sent me to, and now I'm like, yeah, I have to teach you all away from that because that stuff is not the way it works in the real world, as I found. But one of the things that I did learn and I did keep from all of that was that vitamin D on a hair test raises hair calcium drastically often. This is a generality. This is most people. This is 80 to 90% of people. 80 to 90% of people, vitamin D supplements will raise their calcium drastically, and it will depress their potassium to almost nothing oftentimes. So if you've been doing hair testing and you wonder why your hair calcium won't come down very much and your hair potassium won't go up very much, and you're taking vitamin D supplements, you've got your answer. That's one part of it. How does it do this? Vitamin D, go type in hypervitaminosis D and hypercalcemia, or just vitamin D and hypercalcemia. Vitamin D toxicity, hypercalcemia. You will find that too much vitamin D in the system will raise calcium. It won't show up in your blood tests because your body has to keep your blood tests very stable, or else your heart goes wonky and you die. So your body will do everything it can to keep your blood stable. What it's going to do with all this extra calcium? One of the ways it gets rid of it is it pushes it out through your hair. That's one of your detox methods. It can come out through your sweat. Sometimes I wonder, this is just a theory. I have no idea if this is true. But the people who get really, really super crusty sweat, sometimes I wonder, because not everybody gets that. I mean, if there's enough salt over enough time, yes, it would happen. But there are people where there's seriously lime scale coming out of their body. And I swear that I wonder if that's calcium, if that's excess calcium coming out in their sweat. Because there would be the salt, of course, but there may also be other stuff. That excess calcium, where does it often tend to go? It tends to go into your blood vessels. That's called heart disease, cardiovascular disease. It tends to go into your joints. That's why people get those knobby knuckles. Their knuckles are growing. That's the extra bone you're making. So when you're losing bone from osteoporosis and you're getting big knobby joints, that's called calcium dysregulation. The calcium's going into your joints and into your heart system, and it's coming out of your bones. And that's what a high calcium on a hair test tends to mean, is calcium dysregulation. Too much calcium where we don't want it, like in your hair, and not enough calcium where we do want it, like in your bones. So the other thing that will cause that on a hair test that most people don't know about, especially in the hair analysis world, go look up vitamin A toxicity and hypercalcemia. Go look up hypervitaminosis hypercalcemia. Go look up, did I say vitamin A toxicity? Vitamin A toxicity, hypercalcemia, vitamin A hypercalcemia, and hypervitaminosis A hypercalcemia. And you will find it. So vitamin A will cause hypercalcemia. Oh, wait, let me tell you about two other things. That low potassium, I have one paper. It's on rats. It's the title of it, title's all you need of it. Renal potassium wasting caused by vitamin D. They gave rats vitamin D supplements. And what they saw was that a ton of extra potassium was lost through their kidneys. That's renal. They were losing potassium through their kidneys, huh? Gosh. You ever been on vitamin D supplements and you start getting cramping in your feet or calves at night? Or you get anxiety? Or you get really fatigued? A lot of those things can be associated with potassium deficiency because your vitamin D supplement is causing you to lose all your potassium. Okay, moving on. Vitamin A. Wait, does vitamin A affect potassium too? I have a paper that shows that in white blood cells, retinoic acid, the most biologically active form of vitamin A, blocked potassium channels in white blood cells. The majority, one of the reasons I don't send people to go and do the hair analysis course that I took is because they specifically use high doses of vitamin A to try to smash down the calcium. And they're always wondering why their potassium never comes up. And over time, they start to wonder, why is the calcium not really coming down? Or it'll come down for a little bit, and then it'll go back up, and then it'll come down, and it'll go back up, and it'll come down, and it'll go back up. It's the vitamin A that never left. They might have gotten the people off vitamin D. And most hair analysis people are very anti-vitamin D supplements, but they haven't got the vitamin A yet. Okay? So that's vitamin A toxicity is the biggest thing on hair analysis that they've missed the boat on. So I started figuring out that vitamin D supplement, that was what I was getting to. In the hair analysis world, they started saying that calcium goes up, hair calcium, and potassium goes down. Don't take vitamin D supplements. And I was like, what? Oh, hair calcium and hair potassium on a hair mineral analysis. Calcium to potassium is called the thyroid ratio. Calcium divided by potassium is called the thyroid ratio. The higher that ratio goes, we tend to associate that with more thyroid resistance or worse thyroid function. Vitamin D and vitamin A both drive up calcium on a hair test and drive down potassium. Both the effects of vitamin A and vitamin D on a hair test would therefore be directly anti-thyroid. Oops. I used to give people vitamin A when I was doing what I was taught in hair analysis. I don't do that anymore. I'm the vitamin A detox guy. And if you want more information on that, go to the shop on the website on nutritionrestored.com, and there's the vitamin A detox program, or you can work directly with me and get the benefits of me supervising your journey back to health as we get all this nasty stuff out of you. The vitamin D supplements, there's no detox program for that because all you got to do is stop taking it. That's it. No more in your multivitamin, no more in your prenatal, no more in your super high vitamin D supplement. Just don't. So now we're going to go into a great study that just came out. This is insane because I'm going to give you the gist of it and all the news articles that I saw about it. And they said, you guys may have seen it. Big study comes out showing that there's no benefit whatsoever to supplements. None. That is about the dumbest thing I could ever hear about any study. Okay. No benefits to mortality. No changing your risk of death, or no improving it, and no decreasing your risk of death or improving the length of time before you die. And I thought, you know what? Let me look into that study more, because I wanted to see, what did they really find? I'm going to read you some quotes from this paper. So everybody's been taking vitamin D, right? The doctor's like, this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. And yet, how many people here feel amazing from my vitamin D supplement? Most of us never felt anything. Some of us, when we start looking back, that's when our health started to tank. Some people who live in really low sun areas might feel a little better, and then that fades. Also, vitamin A toxicity is directly antagonistic. The more toxic you are in vitamin A, the more it will lower your vitamin D. Antagonistic. I have multiple papers on the website about vitamin D, vitamin A being directly antagonistic to vitamin D. Some people say, well, you got to take both of them together to fight one off. Two wrongs never made a right. I'm going to take, wait, let me get it right. I'm going to take poison A to counteract poison B, and I'm going to get healthy. But take your vitamin D with vitamin K, and it'll prevent the problems. No. First, just think about, are we supposed to eat vitamin D anywhere? It's like high-fat diets. Like if you were living in nature and you didn't have giant feeding operations feeding you gigantically fatty meat and all these refined oils and nuts and seeds already shelled and avocados. I just learned about avocados today. Avocados are freakishly different now than they used to be. So if you didn't have all these fats around, you were living in nature, how would you get a ton of fat? Tell me, game meat? No. You gonna sit around and crack nuts all day? Maybe, if you're starving, yeah. Is there oils and butter living out in nature? Like a wild man. There's not much fat at all. Where are you gonna eat vitamin D from? People will be like, mushrooms. I'm like, serious. You gonna eat mushrooms all day to get like 400 units of vitamin D? Sardines. Okay, go fish some sardines, bro. I'm gonna say it like that just because I want. Go collect a bunch of sardines. Like there's just not that much vitamin D to eat out in nature. And just because you can find one super concentrated source that would be in one part of the world, what about everybody else in the world? What are they gonna do? How did we get here without vitamin D supplements? Because the world's always had cloudy areas, right? There's always been clouds and dreariness and all this stuff. Seasonal affective disorder is when you don't have enough sun and the sun isn't around to break down the vitamin A in your skin. One of the ways that our bodies can break down vitamin A is through sunlight, UVA. So when the sun goes away, one of your ways of getting rid of vitamin A goes away, and you start getting depressed. So, shouldn't be eating vitamin D. Shouldn't be eating crazy high fat. If you want to think about human design and what we came up, what we were eating as we dominated this planet, sure wasn't vegan. Okay. There's no fat out there. Hardly any. And there's no vitamin D. So you shouldn't be eating vitamin D. Back to this study. Let me pull it up. So I got to look at it on another tab. So this is the title of the study if you want to look it up. If you type in the title of the study and PDF after it, you'll find the whole study. Title of the study: Association among dietary supplement use, nutrient intake, and mortality among U.S. adults. Okay. I'm going to skip to the conclusion first so I can show you how ludicrously stupid or not on the up and up these researchers are. They were trying to show something with this study, is my take. And the way the media ran with it so much afterwards, and the media gets their commercials paid for by big pharma, I have to think that the media was ready for this, or was given this and saying, here, take this and spread it far and wide. The conclusion: use of dietary supplements is not associated with mortality benefits among US adults. That's some lawyerese, right? That's some legalese right there. It's not associated with mortality benefits. So that means it could be associated with mortality decreases, right? All the media said supplements are no benefit. That was what they said. Supplements are no benefit. Okay. Not associated with mortality benefits among US adults. So what I went through the study and I pulled out all the vitamin D stuff. What did I find? First, this is just a little short piece. These are quotes from the study. Quote, more than half of participants had inadequate intake of vitamin D. Because we're supposed to get vitamin D from food? Okay. But they're finding everybody's deficient in vitamin D in their intake, according to them, according to eating it. Next quote. Stratified analysis revealed that vitamin D supplement use was not associated with mortality among participants with serum 25-hydroxy vitamin D levels less than 50 nanomoles per liter. That's 20 nanograms per milliliter for the American. Okay, I'm going to stop there. Supplement use, using vitamin D supplements, was not associated with mortality, better or worse, dying sooner or later, among participants with serum vitamin D levels less than 20. Here we'd be like, the doctors would be like, you're horribly deficient. Oh my God, you're going to die. They just found out that vitamin D supplements didn't change anything. It didn't help. It didn't hurt. It didn't help. But it gets better. However, among those with levels of 50 nanomoles per liter or 20 nanograms per milliliter or higher, vitamin D supplement use at more than 10 micrograms per day, 400 units, was associated with increased risk for all-cause death and cancer death. Let me read that again. Let me say it a little louder for the people in the back. I'm going to just go in the American units. Among those with levels of 20 nanograms per milliliters or higher of blood vitamin D supplement use at more than 400 units a day was associated with increased risk for all-cause death and cancer death. What? Your doctors are trying to give you this. Is it their intention to kill you quicker? If you're not like mind-boggled by that, see, the use of dietary supplements is not associated with mortality benefits among US adults. Oh, but it might kill you sooner. Okay, more on the vitamin D. This was their summary of it. We found that vitamin D supplementation at doses above 400 units a day might be associated with increased all-cause and cancer death among persons without vitamin D deficiency. Without vitamin D deficiency. Supplements might be associated with increased all-cause and cancer death among persons without vitamin D deficiency. How are doctors deciding to give you vitamin D supplements? Aren't they doing it by blood tests? And then they say you're vitamin D deficient, so you should take it. Moment of silence for that, right? Isn't this really bad? This is a big study. Big study. That's why the news put it everywhere. Let's go on to calcium now, because you know how I told you vitamin A increases calcium in the blood in a bad way? Vitamin D increases calcium in the blood in a bad way. They both increase hair calcium on a hair mineral analysis. And then we have people taking calcium, and then there's people out there spouting stuff like the calcium in milk is like magical and has magical properties that other things don't have. And we have people grinding up eggshells. I could never do that. I read about that and I was like, are you freaking kidding me? Grinding up eggshells and taking them? Anyway, let's talk about calcium in this same paper. And I don't know that I ever took calcium pills because, boy, they made me feel like crap. That was one thing that very quickly I noticed. I don't feel good. Quote, excess intake of calcium was associated with higher cancer mortality. Wait. Use of dietary supplements is not associated with mortality benefits among U.S. adults. That was their conclusion. Let's read that one more time. Quote, excess intake of calcium was associated with higher cancer mortality. You are at higher risk of dying from cancer with excess calcium intake. Especially supplements. Let me get into that. So this is a quote. It's about the same topic. Excess intake of calcium was associated with increased risk for cancer death, and the association seemed to be related to calcium intake from supplements, 1,000 milligrams a day or more, versus no use. 1,000 milligrams a day, that's a horse pill, right? Versus no supplements. Seems to be related to calcium intake from supplements rather than foods. But don't we hear those milk commercials, right? You need more calcium. And yet you can still get to the same place. Calcium is calcium is calcium is calcium. There is no magical calcium. If somebody's going to say, well, eggshell calcium, I can take a tablespoon of that a day and it's different than a calcium pill. Not really. Not really. Go place your bet. If you just hear excess intake of calcium was associated with higher cancer mortality, and let's say you're a Peter, a Ray Peat follower, and you want to drink a gallon of milk a day or two, and you want to hope that calcium is not increasing your risk of cancer death, you go right ahead. You take that bet. You go ahead and do that. And when it doesn't work, I'll be here. Okay? I'll be here to undo all the damage. That's what I try to do. I mean, I try to do it. There's only so much you can fix. You know, it's like with an old car, broken down car that you want to refurbish. There's only so much you can do. The inside of the car is still going to rattle. There's still going to be loose pieces. It's a 40-year-old car. You can make it look nice and drive, but it's never going to be new again. And the more it went through in its life, the less you can make it like new. So the more people are damaging themselves along the way, doing all these anti-aging things. Let me give you a quick thing here. Excess calcium was associated with higher cancer mortality. Taking vitamin D supplements of more than 400 units, even with vitamin D deficiency tested by blood, was associated with increased risk for all-cause death and cancer death. Calcium supplements are associated with increased cancer death. Vitamin D supplements are associated with increased cancer death and death from all causes. Vitamin A toxicity is killing people. Vitamin A is associated with raising calcium. Vitamin D is associated with raising calcium. Calcium is associated with raising calcium. Dairy is associated with raising calcium. What's the common thing there? It's called calcium. Here's a tip for those of you who think, but I have osteopenia or osteoporosis and I need tons of calcium. No. What those bone diseases are is they are a problem of holding the calcium in your bones. Holding the calcium in your bones. It doesn't mean you have a calcium deficiency. You're not holding it in your bones. This is very different. There's a huge difference between not being able to hold something there and not having enough of it. Okay? Because I get lots of people on their hair test, not lots. I mean, my crowd is more, middle-aged and younger. The folks who are on the more mature folks, most of them, the ones who get it, I work with, are great. They're way ahead of the curve. They're sharp as tacks. But most people are set in their ways enough that by their 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, they're not able to get what I'm spitting here, you know? That's just, it's sad, but you know, the older we get, the less able we are to change, the less generally able we are to change. So, high hair calcium. These folks with osteoporosis will have high hair calcium. Their body's actually dumping calcium out of their hair. But they don't have enough in their bones. Why would they be doing that? Because they can't hold it in their bones. It leaves their bones, goes into their blood. Their body has more in the blood than they want. They have two choices. Well, they could leave it in the blood and die because their blood calcium would go crazy and their heart would go crazy. Calcium is an electrolyte. Electrolytes run the electrical system of the heart. You get too much calcium, magnesium, sodium, potassium, or let too little of those, the heart's electrical system goes wonky. So we don't want that. So the body doesn't want that. The body says, I'd rather take a slow, painful death than a quick one. So instead of keeping it in the blood, it shoves it places. It shoves it in the hair. It shoves it into the joints or into other soft tissues, your tendons, your ligaments, your cartilage, your blood vessels. It has to get it out of the active blood flow. So it can put it in your aorta. It can shove it on the sides there. It's out of the flow. Okay? So, calcium. If you have calcium problems, the hair test. People say, well, I got blood tests for calcium. My blood test was fine. I even did the ionized calcium. Cool. Hair tests show calcium problems better than anything else. I could do blood tests. Blood tests don't show me stuff. Hair tests show me the calcium flow over time. We're talking about calcification or people turning into statues. Does that happen overnight? No, it takes time. Hair tests are the best for calcium. They're also the best for magnesium. And how magnesium and calcium relate on a hair test, that just calcium and magnesium is worth the whole price of a hair test, in my opinion. Just those two minerals. We just have those two, worth the price of a hair test. So, gosh, I've covered a lot on vitamin D. Let me go into some other, let me see the questions that might be here. Okay, Steve, I answered your question, 20 to 40 nanograms per milliliter. That's 50 to, I don't know what that would be in the European, unislab.com. Somebody can go look it up. What would 40 on Unislab be? I guess it would be, wait, if 20 is 50, then 40 should be 100. So it would be somewhere between 50 to 100 in nanomoles per liter, but I don't know. That could be different. I don't know. The nanomole conversion might get weird. Moles, they can be a little different in chemistry. So, so then we have, I remember, yeah, Abby's comment here. This makes me want to sue my doctor. I was fine until she put me on high dose vitamin D about 6 months ago. I mean, what can we say? This is what I'm talking about. So save your grandparents, save your parents, save your friends, save anybody. Get them off. Show them this. Have them friend me on Facebook. Follow my YouTube. Get off the vitamin D. You can go and search my name on the internet, Garrett Smith, vitamin D, and you can find other stuff I've talked about. This is the most recent one, and this is the one where that study I'm talking about should really wake people up. This is what I'm trying to do. So when it sometimes it may seem I'm a little blunt and straightforward, well, you know, when your parents used to come and just rub you nice to wake you up, and they'd be like, wake up, and you'd be like, no, I don't want to. I'm gonna stay in bed. And then finally they come in, they're like, you need to wake up now. I'm at that point because a lot of us don't have a lot of time to wait, right? We don't want Abby to take high dose vitamin D because her doctor said to, and she was fine until then. Okay? Not cool. How can the people who published that study write that they couldn't find me supplement mortality benefits when there's like the two most two of the most commonly taken supplements in that paper were calcium and vitamin D. Is it not their responsibility to tell you you're going to die earlier from this garbage? Isn't it their responsibility? What did they say in the paper? They were like, well, it warrants more study. Oh, I could show you lots more research on it. If you want to go and Google, I'm going to find these links for the podcast notes. People's Pharmacy, vitamin D. Go and look on the People's Pharmacy website for vitamin D. They talk about a couple studies, and even still, they're talking about, they have all these papers where vitamin D showed no benefit. No benefit. Nothing. And then they're still like, well, you might still want to take some. And I'm like, y'all just did a great blog post on how vitamin D has no benefits. And they're like, but you still want to get your levels up into range. 20 to 40 in American units, 50 to, I think it would be 100 in nanomoles per liter. If you're in there, you're good. And most of you, probably when you first started taking vitamin D, were in that range. So, if you got above that range, you were probably feeling like crap. Which sucks. I'm laughing because it sucks. It sucks. The good news is the vitamin D, if you stop taking it, it will work its way out of the system. So then we're going to talk a little bit about the folks who lost that one. Anyway, I was looking at Leah's thing. Leah, have I ever heard of anybody talking about getting vitamin D toxic from mushrooms? I have not. There is the big mushroom fad these days, like the medicinal mushrooms. I don't know. But what are people doing with that? What do Americans tend to do? Americans tend to think more is better. So let's turn this pile of mushrooms into an extract, and I'm going to take it all at once. Or maybe you're going to be, I'm just going to mock here, but maybe you're going to be a biohacker and snort it up your nose, because biohackers have figured out all the secrets to why humans aren't healthy today. No. Hacking in computer use is illegal, and hacking in health is trying to take a shortcut. Hell, as I was teaching my kid just the other day, you are what you do consistently. So for people who are not healthy, whether it's by any fault of their own or not, whatever happened to them, whatever they chose to do, health is a result of generally something you've done consistently. You could have been poisoned. You know, I would always joke about the people who say it's all about the terrain. And I'm like, okay, explain biological warfare. And they're like, if you have somebody with perfect terrain, are they going to be immune to biological warfare? No, because it's both. There's the terrain and there's the germ. They're both there. So, what else about vitamin D? Yeah, Leah, it never would have made it to mainstream had they been forthcoming. No, they no. Same stuff about vitamin A. Oh my gosh. The paper I posted the other day about the allergies in vitamin A and all the allergic reactions going up with retinoic acid. They actually said in the title of the paper was terrible. They were saying it was creating immunity to allergens. It did the exact opposite. All the butt covering in the CYA, the covering their butt, that these people are doing to maintain the narrative that certain nutrients are good for people and other things are just, they don't have any benefit. Basically, if mainstream is into it, you might want to turn and run the other way. Robert, you said you checked your test results when you were listen to this. I just checked my test results when I was my sickest. I had a 97 nanogram per mil of vitamin D. Crazy. Yes. Vitamin D supplements are poison. Oh, wait, vitamin D supplements are poison. Terad D3. Go look it up. Terad D3. I'm going to do a search for it just so I know that you guys are going to find it. Terad D3 is rat poison. Oh, I want tetra. Come on. Anyway, it's Terad D3. It is a rat poison. There it is. Wait. Somebody find it and send me a link. It is out there. Can't believe I can't find it right now. Terad. Sorry, Terad D3 blocks. Here it is. I'm going to put it in the notes. That's not what I just copied. Anyway, Terad D3 blocks from Bell Labs. There it is. So it's there in the notes. Terad D3 block. Terad 3 blocks. Premier formulation with vitamin D3. Terad 3 blocks with vitamin D3 kills anticoagulant resistant rats and mice. Okay, so they use warfarin, Coumadin, as rat poison. They just said that, so if the Coumadin or the warfarin doesn't kill the rats, you can step up your game to vitamin D and give the rats vitamin D3 to kill them. Okay. There's lots of people in the health field, they're like, I would never take warfarin. That stuff is rat poison. So is vitamin D3. Terad D3 blocks. Go look it up. So, I think I may have gone through enough of this. If anybody else has any questions, just go ahead and shoot them. I'll sit here and think for a second about anything else. But try to keep it on the vitamin D note. Or if you want to give a testimonial to when your experiences with taking vitamin D. Oh, so low vitamin D. Low vitamin D. So people might be like, I was at a 16 or I was at an 8 and I was super low. What do you do then? Okay. First, I believe, well, first of all, if you guys ever want to, if for those of you who are into mechanisms, you're like, I want to know how everything works, every little step. On Facebook, find Jim Stevenson. I don't know if he says it's Stephenson or Stevenson. I'm going to guess he says it's Stevenson, but it's Stephenson. Jim Stevenson. He is brilliant at the mechanisms of vitamin D and uncovering all this. What he's come up with is that when you eat vitamin D, it gets bound to a protein differently than the vitamin D that you make from the sun. And this is why it's so different. He's the expert on that. I might even be saying it might be that the sun has a protein and the stuff you take doesn't. I may have that wrong. I'm not a mechanism guy. I'm a black box guy. I'm like, put in an input and get an output. Is the output good? Is it what we want? Great, do more of that. Put in an input, you get a bad output, don't do it. All the research I need to look at, just like that study, that's the output. That's all I need to know. Vitamin D is killing people. It's sending people to early graves. That's what I thought for years, and now all of a sudden I have a paper that directly says it. Okay? I've been taking people off vitamin D for at least 5 or 6 years now. It was one of the first things where people were like, Dr. Garrett Smith shouldn't take vitamin D? What? And that was one of the first things where I was like, don't take this. And now there's the vitamin A, and people are like, oh, Dr. Smith is just doing another one of his. Don't take these things. That's okay. I keep expanding my quiver so I can hit more targets, so I can help more people with more health issues. It's never one thing, as I've talked about before. Don't take vitamin D. Iron, fixing your iron is a very big deal, whether it's low or high. Fixing your copper and zinc, those two are kind of a couple. Fixing those is really important, and those cause real problems. Getting the vitamin A toxicity down, which affects all these things. The lime scale and rust theory that I used to be operating on, lime scale was calcification. I'm still talking about that, aren't I? Rust, iron, I'm still talking about that. So everything I do, people think that people think that I'm one of the types out there. Like, you guys all know them, health practitioners or normal people who they pick one health idea and they run with it. And that is the cause of all the world's ills, whether it's carbohydrates, whether it's toxic metals, whether it's candida, whether it's your mitochondria, whether it's whatever the flavor of the week is. And then after a while, after they finally realize that not only did that not answer their health question, but all the people they were spewing it to, it didn't really help anybody else for maybe more than a month or two, then they move on to their next save the world thing. Like the carnivore diet. Oh, this is coming up. People think, I get people misinterpreting me. They think that I'm saying the carnivore diet is great. The carnivore diet is a low vitamin A diet. Yes. What I think it does is it reduces the amount of vitamin A floating around in your blood, but I don't necessarily believe that it helps get rid of your stores. And what I'm seeing with carnivore diet people, the more I read from them on the internet and the more I hear from some of my people who are doing it, is that people get horribly intolerant of anything other than the carnivore diet after that. They're a disaster. Like, if they don't eat their carnivore diet, and I'm not talking about the high vitamin A version of the carnivore diet where people are doing liver and eggs and what's the other one? The other thing that was in there, lard, or tons of pork, fatty pork, bacon, whatever. That's all full of vitamin A. So there's a high vitamin A carnivore diet, which is a disaster. And there's a low vitamin A carnivore diet, which is beef and salt and water. Fatty beef generally is what they have to do, because if they don't get enough fat, they'll get rabbit starvation. Go look up rabbit starvation. And they just paint themselves. The term I use is they paint themselves into a corner, and they're intolerant of everything else. Not by choice. Whatever it does to their physiology, whatever they're missing, they get stuck. And I have one major client who I'm trying to get out of this corner. I don't have any other patterns to go on. So we're working on stuff. Abby, Robert's saying, it's interesting how the most popular supplements, calcium, iron, D3, fish oil, are the most toxic for you. Makes you wonder. Hopefully you will move past wondering very soon. I don't believe this is an accident. I don't think most of the people repeating it know what they're doing. However, I absolutely believe that the people at the very top know exactly what they're doing. And that might scare the crap out of some people, so they just can't even fathom it. But there is no way that everybody's making all these same mistakes. Call me a theorist of a certain type. If it looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, and if everybody's recommending stuff that we're all starting to find out now it's horrible for people, and even the research is saying it, at what point do you call it a duck? So, Abby, you were put on all of those supplements I just mentioned except calcium, along with beef liver and B12, way too much at once. Most practitioners are not like me. I'm ready to call BS on anybody. I called BS on what I was doing. I was giving people vitamin A. I called BS on myself. I called BS on myself giving vitamin D. I used to give fish oil. And then I learned I just watched what was happening. I just watched, am I getting somewhere? And I was not. I want results. Results are what keeps people coming back. Results are what gets people sending their friends in. So, Leah, I think the one thing the carnivore diet shows is that meat is not carcinogenic. I believe that's true, yes. Not good long-term, extremes are dangerous. Yes. Okay, we have mixed dentition. We have carnivore teeth and we have herbivore teeth, which makes us have omnivore teeth. We have a stomach with lots of acid in it for digesting meat and protecting us. The stomach acid is there to protect us from food poisoning in the meat. We have a long enough intestinal tract and we have enough teeth and we have amylase and we have a long enough intestinal tract that we can get enough out of plant foods. We're not great at plant foods, but we get enough out of it. Are there a lot of plant foods out there that are kind of toxic for us? Yeah, especially the ones with vitamin A. Carotenoids are a plant poison. So we talked about the low vitamin D. Studies show that vitamin D levels go up and down right with magnesium levels. Vitamin A also depletes magnesium. I have the paper showing that retinoic acid depletes cells 30% of magnesium. So you don't have enough magnesium because you don't take it in, or vitamin A toxicity, your vitamin D goes down. You take in some magnesium, your vitamin D seems to start going up. Those are multiple papers on that. The NHANES study on mortality. You can look up magnesium, NHANES study. You'll find it. So yeah, magnesium. You need magnesium. You need potassium. You need these are to make vitamin D. You need B6. You need B2. I'm trying to remember all these. I used to have these very well memorized, and I just don't anymore because almost all the same things vitamin A depleted. And I went, vitamin A is depleting all these same nutrients. I have 11 nutrients that vitamin A depletes now in the research. So vitamin A depletes all these nutrients, and half of these nutrients you need. I've already found research showing that if they're low, you can't make vitamin D. We have a vitamin A toxicity epidemic and a supposedly vitamin D deficiency epidemic. And there's so your vitamin D deficiency, if you actually have a legit, like below 20, I think Jim goes down to below 15. If you have a legit vitamin D deficiency, it doesn't mean take vitamin D. It means fix your vitamin A toxicity and try to get some light. You live somewhere where you don't have light and you don't have money to buy a tanning bed, and you don't have money to buy a spurty $400 lamp, buy a Reptile UVB lamp and the dome to hold it. Clip it on your desk. It's made for reptiles to be in all day long. It gets warm, so don't burn yourself. Don't be a smarty pants and burn yourself. It's a hot bulb, but you can just shine that on you. You could clip it to your desk, shine it on yourself all day. It works to keep reptiles alive. Should be okay for you. Just try to get outside. I don't think that people need as much sunlight as a lot of people think we do if we don't have vitamin A toxicity. Then there's the people out there that say that vitamin A and vitamin D are synergistic and they protect you from each other. Well, here's what I can tell you. I have a guy, he was definitely into the Ray Peat world, and he started taking lots of vitamin A, and he started not feeling good, so he started taking lots of vitamin D. Based on forum, all these brilliant minds on these forums spewing health advice from their N=1 background. He was sick from both of them. He's Facebook messaging me saying, I have symptoms of both vitamin A and vitamin D toxicity. And I was like, I need to test you to see where you're at, to see what you're doing. He's like, no, what do I do? What do I do? I'm like, I need to see where you're at. I need to test. What do I do? What do I do? I told you what we need to do. You need to not take either of them. but you want me to fix you. Don't put a blindfold on me and then ask me where I am. I got to see the lay of the land. You're obviously not in touch enough with your own system that you poisoned yourself with these two things. And now you want me to just, I don't have a magic wand of detoxify. So I don't think I heard much from him after that. I was really nice to him. I was just like, I can't work with no information. We test, we don't guess, then we address. If we could all go by just how we felt all the time to determine what we should do, if feelings really worked for everybody, we'd all be super healthy. We would have never been led down these terrible paths. So, yeah, but the carnivore diet, meat is, we need meat. Why do we need meat? Very simply, to protect us against vitamin A toxicity. You need taurine from meat. Anyone who's listening to this, who's not, if somebody insists on being a vegetarian or a vegan, there is no taurine in eggs. There is no taurine in dairy. There's, I think, a teeniest sprinkle of taurine in pumpkin seeds. Okay? So really, a vegetarian or a vegan diet, taurine is in animal muscle, meat, protein, or even organ meat, but I don't recommend you eat those ever. Taurine is in muscle meat. People are going to email me or send me messages. How much taurine supplement do you think I should take? What did I just say? I said, eat your meat. Don't get any pudding if you don't eat your meat. So, eat your meat. Doesn't mean you have to eat tons of it. But I am starting to see that more protein during vitamin A detox does seem to be very helpful. I'm not saying crazy amounts. I eat meat once a day, most days, sometimes twice a day. But if you're going to eat it, you got to eat enough. So we generally need enough protein for vitamin A detox, and we need enough taurine. So the taurine thing I didn't take as seriously until recently, when I was figuring out how these vitamin A deficiency rat diets came about. It was actually a good question. I know he may be here. Josh, I don't know how to say his last name, Getzkow. He was bringing up, like, how did these rat diets, how did they screw up so bad in the initial vitamin A deficiency rat diet studies? And I started looking into it, and the taurine part of it smacked me in the face. Like people who love the Price-Pottinger studies, there's entire theories out there that the whole Price-Pottinger, the big thing that screwed up the cats that got the cooked food, was that they didn't get any taurine. I've been hearing from people out there that there's now a bunch of research in the dog world that taurine deficiency may be really hurting dogs badly. Taurine deficiency in people, especially in these times of everybody talking about veganism, taurine deficiency is going to ruin people. Taurine is necessary to protect you and to help you detox vitamin A. That doesn't mean that people need to be shoveling in taurine powder. It's not what I said. You need enough. How much is enough? Enough. Are supplements the same or better or worse than food? You guys need to know, I'm a naturopathic doctor, right? I want to do natural stuff. However, we have been, for all intents and purposes, pharmaceutically poisoned with glyphosate, with all the pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, pharmaceuticals of all types, fortified foods, GMOs. You can't bring a knife to a gunfight and expect to win. We have to challenge this stuff. And minerals are like, somebody can go out and be like, well, limestone, it's minerals, but that's not usable by the body. I'm not talking about taking limestone, but you got to understand, like, at what point does the whole natural argument end and something else begin? So anyway, minerals work great when they're not in food. Vitamins, we don't need to take that many vitamins if we don't poison ourselves with vitamin A. And the two, then I'm just going to answer this question right now. People say, well, if vitamin D is a fat-soluble vitamin and that's bad for you, and vitamin A is a fat-soluble vitamin and that's bad for you, or at least, okay, vitamin D is great for you, don't eat it. Vitamin D is more like a hormone. You want your body to make your hormones, not eat them or rub them on your skin or do the other, inject them. You want to get your hormones from your body. So vitamin D is more like a hormone that you're not supposed to eat. You're supposed to get it from the sun or your body makes it. And that's all tied together, right? Vitamin A is not vitamin. Vitamin A is poison. So that's not an argument anymore. At least not in my world. Vitamin A is a fat-soluble vitamin. No, it's not it's a fat-soluble poison. Okay, so that's not even in the discussion anymore. So, but then they bring up, what about vitamin E and what about vitamin K? Can those get toxic too? Okay, vitamin K. I've done a lot of trying to find hypervitaminosis K. The only thing you can find on vitamin K being toxic in any way, there's two ways. One is the synthetic vitamin K. I believe it's K3. I forget the fancy name of it. Somebody could look it up and throw it on here. It's a totally synthetic, totally unnatural vitamin K. Nobody should be taking it. You can get too much of that, and that can cause problems. And I would never use it in anybody. I wouldn't suggest anybody uses it. Then, people with G6PD deficiency, glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase deficiency. I may have gotten those words wrong, but G6PD. They don't tolerate vitamin K. Vitamin K in their system will cause them hemolytic anemia. It will cause bad things. So if you're listening to this and you've ever taken vitamin K, normal K2, MK4, MK7, K1, whatever, and you did not feel good, you might want to look into G6PD. There's a website like g6pddeficiency.org. I think it is. It's a great website for that stuff. I'm not an expert in it because I have not had to deal with it yet. So those are the only two problems with vitamin K that I know of. There's a Japanese study where they had guys with coronary, like calcium in their carotids, and they gave them 45 milligrams, 45,000 micrograms. Because most supplements will label vitamin K in micrograms. And so they're usually like, when they're talking about MK4, they're talking about 1,000 micrograms, maybe 2,000. They gave these Japanese guys 45,000 micrograms, 45 milligrams per day of MK4 to dissolve the calcium deposits. It worked. They didn't mention any side effects. So that's a lot of vitamin K, and there was no problem. So vitamin K as a fat-soluble vitamin causing toxicity, can't find it. If you find it, tell me. I want to know. Vitamin E. First, any study that talks about tocopherol with a Y, tocopherol acetate, disregard it. Tocopherol acetate is poison. If you see acetate with a vitamin E, don't take it. It's a disaster. It's bad for you. Okay? So that probably cuts out half of the vitamin E studies. You get into D-alpha tocopherol in a supplement, whether it's by itself. It seems that too much D-alpha tocopherol by itself is not good. There's 4 members of the vitamin E family: D, alpha, beta, gamma, delta. 4 of them. So Taking tocopherol acetate or any acetate vitamin E, that's bad. Taking just D-alpha tocopherol by itself, that's bad. Tocotrienols. Most supplements with tocotrienols are derived from red palm oil. They will be dark brown or reddish in color. Those have tons of carotenoids in them. Don't take those. Then we get into, there's some other vitamin E's that people like to brag about that are derived from annatto. Annatto is used as a food coloring because it has so many carotenoids in it that it will turn your mac and cheese yellow. Okay? Vitamin E derived from annatto is not cool either. Some people start going, gosh, vitamin E, where are we gonna get it from? I'll tell you what I use. The next one, we have vitamin E from rice bran. Rice bran is full of arsenic. Rice bran is the part of brown rice that contains all the arsenic. Pretty much all the brown rice out there is going to have arsenic amounts that you don't want. I don't eat brown rice. I don't recommend eating brown rice. I definitely don't recommend eating the concentrated extract of the part of the brown rice that contains the arsenic. Okay? So rice bran oil, vitamin E, is out. I have not looked into wheat germ oil. Not really interested. Most oils by themselves can be moderate in vitamin E. Sunflower, in terms of foods, sunflower seeds are going to be your highest food source of vitamin E for the most part. Most commonly accessible food source. You can get high oleic sunflower oil that is, the fatty acid content is more like olive oil or avocado oil versus like something like flaxseed oil or other seed oils. So for the PUFA people, PUFAs in food have never really been an issue. PUFAs in isolated vegetable oils are a problem. You don't get to avoid PUFAs completely. And I've never seen anybody who was like, I avoided all PUFAs and my health magically fixed all of itself. It just doesn't happen. They might feel better if they were eating a lot of crappy vegetable oils. Taking a lot of crappy vegetable oils out of your diet will help you feel better. That doesn't mean that all PUFAs can be avoided and that they're all bad. When you listen to my stuff, there's lots of gray areas. Everything needs context. PUFAs by themselves are not bad. I'm not going to say vitamin D is bad. Vitamin D by mouth is bad. Pretty much, well, one thing I will give you this, all vitamin A is pretty much bad. But you can't avoid it all. So you can't worry about trying to avoid it all. You try to avoid as much as you can. So there's that. Vitamin E. So what do I use? Well, what's toxic? Let's go into that. What's toxic? It seems that long-term use of over 1,000 units I use per day of D-alpha tocopherol seem to cause issues with blood clotting, or what people will say, it thins your blood, which is not really doing that. It's making it so it doesn't clot. Those are two different things. What they surmised that the vitamin E at that dose was doing was somehow depleting vitamin K, or that it was because there was a vitamin K deficiency that the vitamin E pushed it too far. My people working with me are not going to get a vitamin K or a vitamin E deficiency. And, let's just go over this real quick. Vitamin A toxicity studies from the 50s have been showing that vitamin E is extremely protective against vitamin A toxicity, and vitamin E is depleted by vitamin A toxicity. So vitamin A depletes vitamin E. Okay. And I have another paper that showed that in rats, this is not an exact quote, but it's very close to what the scientists said. Vitamin A can be used in rats to induce a simple vitamin K deficiency. could use vitamin A to deplete rats of vitamin K. The two vitamins, fat-soluble vitamins that I like, are both depleted by vitamin A. It's not a vitamin, it's a poison. Vitamin D is a hormone. So when people bring up fat-soluble vitamins are A, D, E, and K, I'm like, no, it's just E and K. And they're pretty all right. So mixed tocopherols. You want a mixed tocopherol supplement? Mixed tocopherol, pretty much the only place you're going to find it from. Some people are going to freak out about this, and they're going to think I'm some traitor to the cause, which is okay. You can think that. I'm not. The only place you're going to get mixed tocopherol supplements on a large scale is derived from non-GMO. Well, you want it to be from non-GMO soy. That's where most vitamin E supplements come from, that are not high in vitamin A and have all four tocopherols. Mixed tocopherols from non-GMO soy. Use them with my clients all the time. No problems. Vitamin E is one of the supplements that people don't. I get the people who are the most sensitive to supplements out there. And vitamin E is not one that they complain about. Not one that they have problems with. So you're welcome to freak out about soy. You can do high oleic organic sunflower oil as your vitamin E source, or you can get it just from foods. That's fine. How well is it going to work out if you get it just from foods? Well, even our government found that, like, based on daily recalls, 95% of the US population was not even hitting the minimum recommended daily allowance for vitamin E. 95% of people. So if you want to go out and do it through food, good luck. You go. Tell me how it works, especially if you're vitamin A toxic. I have my recommendations for my clients on my treatment plans, but you've got the basics. You've got enough information out there that you can go searching. In the show notes for this, I will have my Amazon store link. So you can go there and look, and I do have some vitamin E products that I do like there. Vitamin K products too. I'm not going to tell you doses over this because I really want to keep my license. And if you're not a client of mine, I'm not giving you advice. So, yeah, so that's vitamin E and vitamin K, and that's the fat-soluble vitamins. I think I've covered most of the stuff. Okay, there we go. Steve Wasserman says lack of taurine can cause congestive heart failure in cats and dogs. So, yes, lack of taurine, congestive heart failure then. Could be the lack of taurine. Could be the lack of taurine preventing the damage from vitamin A. Who knows? Taurine is really, really important. That's what I know. Steve is organic cooked chicken. Do you still eat the skin? I eat some of it. I'm not like the people who, there's a saying called majoring in the minors. Majoring in the minors. I don't eat chicken with the skin that much. I make what my kids, we used to buy rotisserie chickens to bring home for the kids, and they really loved it. And I started roasting chickens at home. If you want the best roast chicken recipe, Google Mimi's sticky chicken. Mimi's, MIMI''S sticky chicken. Best roast chicken you'll ever have. Pretty easy to make. It just takes 5 hours to cook in the oven. That's the only. But you're cooking it at 250, so it's super slow and low cook. But it's the best. So we call roast chicken at our house. We call it rotisserie chicken to fool the kids. They just like calling it that. So anyway, I mean, how much skin is there on that chicken? And by the time you have cooked the chicken in the oven, most of the fat is on the base of the pan. And I honestly, this is one of those things where I'm like, we make roast chicken maybe once every 2 weeks. And my kids like the skin. My kids eat most of the skin. I let them have it. I mean, why in the world, how many of us have great memories of childhood of eating the chicken skin? Our parents before us did it too, and they made it along pretty well. That's one of those things. That's majoring in the minors. Don't eat the skin. My God, don't eat the whole chicken skin at once, but it's just a little bit. It's not that much. I give my kids the skin because they like it so much, and I'm kind of like, I'll eat what I want of it, whatever the kids don't want. But half the chicken is down in the juices, and so half the skin is some like soggy mess, and so nobody eats half the skin. So anyway, I'd say enjoy the skin. Honestly, life is too short to worry about that stuff. So Abby, does glyphosate prevent the breakdown of excess vitamin D and calcium like it does with vitamin A? I don't know. I have not looked into that at all. I don't know. It shouldn't, the excess calcium, what we have to do with the nutrition stuff that we do is we got to get enough magnesium. There's got to be vitamin K. Magnesium is adjusted based on the hair test. Vitamin K I adjust based on the calcium on the hair test. Boron I adjust based on the hair test. What else do we do? Those are three of the biggest ones. We get the glyphosate out, which is causing the vitamin A to not be broken down, which is causing the calcium problems. We work on all the angles, and I don't think that there's much of an issue with getting rid of the vitamin D. The problem is as the vitamin D comes out of the fat tissues, it does what vitamin D does. This is the thing you need to know. You feel the toxins the most, any toxin, when it's in your bloodstream. Your body actually puts it into your organs, your muscles, your fat, your brain, other things to get it out of your blood. Why does it do that? Because if it goes and affects your heart, you're dead. So your body will always like to choose the long, slow, painful death versus the short death. So it will always choose to shove it into your tissues. So when it was in your blood and you felt toxic, it was in your blood. And then your body said, we got to get this out of the blood. This is causing problems. Push it into places. So then when you are able to, your body will allow it to come back into the blood, and you will get the same symptoms as you had when you were taking a lot. Hopefully your body does it slower. I mean, you could poison yourself a lot faster than you could detox. With vitamin A detox, your body will. It takes a long time because your body cannot dump it all at once. You would die. When you think of, people might think that they couldn't accumulate this much vitamin A, but when you think about it, there was a guy who in 10 days, there was a guy in 1974, New York Times. Look up 1974 New York Times carrot juice addiction. You'll find the article. It's on my blog forum too. A scientist, a researcher who thought he was brilliant, like these people taking mega doses of vitamin A and thinking they're going to live forever, or taking mega doses of vitamin D thinking they're going to live forever. This guy did it. This guy put his money where his mouth was. In 10 days, this guy drank a gallon of carrot juice a day, and he took 1 million units of vitamin A in 10 days, 100,000 units a day. Well, shoot, I used to give people 30,000 units a day for when they had really high calcium. So this guy drank a gallon of carrot juice a day and took 100,000 units of vitamin A on average a day for 10 days. What happened to him at the end of 10 days? Why do I keep saying 10 days? Because at the end of 10 days, he was dead. When they found his body, he was bright orange. So, you can kill yourself with vitamin A. People have tried to. I have a case study of a woman who tried to kill herself by taking too many vitamin A pills. And what she really got was a long stay in the hospital and tons of migraine headaches. So, funny, migraines? Yes, migraines are vitamin A toxicity. Headaches in general are vitamin A toxicity. Of course, they can be caused by all sorts of things. Your neck could be out of whack. Your jaw could be out of whack, all sorts of things. You could have gotten hit in the head. All sorts of things can cause headaches. But when they're really chronic and they're not getting any better and they're getting worse, often vitamin A could be a contributor to your headaches staying really bad. They may not be everything is a mixture of all sorts of things. Vitamin A just makes everything worse. Vitamin D, by increasing the calcium, makes everything worse. So anything joint related, too much vitamin A just increases the calcium. So Steve, Kentucky Fried Chicken skin in the 1960s and 70s is the best. Yeah. I remember Kentucky Fried Chicken used to be good. And I remember reading about how Colonel Sanders like completely disavowed the whole thing. He's like, you basically ruined everything that I worked for and built and made and the recipes, and he disavowed the whole thing. But of course they still use his image. And I remember going into a KFC in recent years. I think somebody else had wanted it for like a family get together, and so I was supposed to go buy it. And I was in there, and you could just feel the grease in the air. And I was looking back in the back, and they were power washing the floor to get the fat off of the floor. And I was just there, and I was like, this is disgusting. And now the one KFC in my area, they closed. They went under. And I just sit there and I think about, I wonder if they completely gutted that place, because that place had to have like cooking oil embedded in every single surface, the drywall, the ceiling tiles, everything in there probably had gunked up KFC fat in it. It's too bad. That like KFC would be a great example of how the large corporate mindset can come in and just ruin something that used to be pretty okay. All in the name of profits. So it's too bad. I think that's it. That's about all I'm going to talk about today. I think an hour and a half is enough. If you guys want to know more, if you are interested in more stuff from me, so nutritionrestored.com is my website. The YouTube is Nutrition Restored. What else do we have? The shop on the website has, if you want to look into nutritional restoration packages with me, where we get to do the testing and you get, a consult with me, and we do email support, and we work on this stuff where I can really get into your individual stuff. That's on the nutritionrestored.com, the store, the shop. The vitamin A detox program, if you want to do it on your own, the vitamin A detox program is there in the shop too. I have an Instagram, but I don't use it much. I'm looking into potentially using it more, but I'm here. Just one note, if you ever want to make comments here on the Facebook page, you have to be a friend of mine. I kind of do that because I just don't want Facebook randos coming through here and just taking up everybody's time who actually really appreciates being here. That's why I do these the way I do. If I get to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, I may do these straight on YouTube. I have an anchor.fm podcast channel, and you can go there to find out. There's 5 other platforms that they put I take the audio from these, put it into a podcast, and they put it on like 5 other platforms. So if you have other places you want to find this podcast, you can do that. You don't get to see my pretty face on those though, so yeah, 6 of one, half dozen of the other, right? So I think that's about it. So y'all have a good day. I will talk to you later. I'm trying to do one of these a week, and I'm so far I'm good for 3 weeks. So one last thing. I do also have a private Facebook group, a video group, where people get to ask me very specific questions, and I go into very specific detail about all the stuff that I do, where people who want to know like the most cutting edge stuff, people here, I'm not going to give the info that's the real cutting edge stuff, because people take it and they do not smart things with it. So I keep that audience fairly limited, but that's $50 a month, and one episode a week. It's typically an hour and a half, and I just rant kind of like this, but I don't have a topic. I do all questions. So and I get more into detail, like I said. So that's about it. Y'all have a great weekend. I will see you later. Bye-bye.